banks last year, that especially, and in the equivalent in the Republic of Ireland, that there are people who are so highly influential on Twitter that a tweet that comes from them could possibly cause a run on the bank. And this alert is very evident at the moment in the Republic of Ireland. It could actually cause the run on the bank. So when the banks are sitting looking at what they're trying to do to protect themselves and create their balance sheets, they're actually ignoring the fact that the influence of a single lone voice or a collection of voices can quickly amplify an echo. And that could have serious repercussions. Now, some of the banks are actually looking at this. Some of the banks, I know that we work with a couple of banks, and they are now starting to take a cognizance of this. But what we found when we went to look at the needs of the institution versus the availability of resource is that they needed 24/7 somebody looking out for it, somebody actually manually checking statements about that institution. Were they true? Were they false? How influential?
Excuse me.
How influential was the person actually saying it? When they said it, how frequently did it get amplified? Did it look like it was a credible threat to the institution? When you go to... So the natural home for this is it's really a PR, a reputation issue. Any 24/7 PR agencies in town? Any PR companies or reputation management companies that get the sentiment and the language that goes on online, that understands the clout that individuals can have as either individuals or a collective? No, there isn't anybody. There's a screaming opportunity for this, and all it takes is for someone to set it up. Now here's your highly detailed P&L for it. I actually reckon that I would get the website together again. I have to understand the key core needs of the client though. They do need this 24/7 idea. They need to make sure that you have the authority. So you do need to come with a certain amount of authority. So get some brochures, get something credible. Tell them about your indemnity insurance. You're not going to indemnify the bank, but you're showing a tendency to understand the seriousness and the gravity of situations that can happen. Caffeine tablets, I put down here at £10, especially if you're in a startup. Prozac, whatever drugs work best for you. And this model, I think, can actually be sold to the PR firms. It really is the responsibility to do this, but for obvious reasons can't and don't want to. So you sell it to PR firms for £50 a month. And why is this beautiful? Because it's recurring revenue. Like bills. And your leakage will be low, especially if it's £50 a month per one of their clients. So they're charging their clients at £150 per month, £500 a month, you're only charging 50. So it's all down to the automation of this process. It's all down to process. And making sure that you streamline what it is that you're doing. So you sell it to the PR firms at £50 a month and let them make a margin on it. That's their incentive to go and give it to their clients. You sell it direct to the corporates at £500 per month for larger organisations. And believe me, banks will pay £5,000 a month if there's an FSA ruling that says that this is a credible threat and this ticks the box to say it's been looked after. Now that in itself is a 60 grand a year contract. I know that that's from my own personal relationships with some of the banks now, and that's dropping the ocean. The only thing that they've got money for right now is internet. It's the only thing they're spending on is internet, because this is the future. That's number 4. 15 minutes to go. Have we got any questions? I think we're going to finish early on this one, guys. The hyper-local mashup paper. There's really, really interesting stuff going on at the minute in the world of government. The US government and the UK government have decided that information should be free. Everything from what's happening on roads, what's happening in schools, what's happening at council level, and it should be there for anybody to use. The problem with it, as we would have perceived it, is you believe it to be siloed. So there's a silo of stuff about schools happening over here, there's a silo of information about leisure centres over here, there's a silo of information about what's happening at council level, what's happening, Stormont, all of these things are siloed. But that's been unleashed. There's a project, if you go to data.gov.uk, you'll see that there's a technology now that this data has been released, unsiloed, and they've opened up things called APIs. Now, what APIs is that they're just little bits of technology that allow computer programmers to drill in, query the database, get back the result, and publish it on a web page. So the guys actually who started this wasn't first off my idea. The guys that actually started this made this newspaper from government data. And the opportunity, I think, here is this. The tendency for radio and the tendency for newspaper, the tendency for advertising is this idea of getting into the niches, getting local. And I think there's an opportunity for a postcode-based newspaper or online group of people. And the reason that this is a mashup is because you could take stuff that's happening in healthcare, education, and you could bring it into that postcode area. And your role in running this business is to be the editor and chief. And what you do is you go round the postcode and you interview the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, the mother of three, the school kids, whoever it has to be, but you bring together the sense of community. And you get the hyper-local content around that. And you then go to the butcher at Christmas and tell him how you're going to sell 70 extra turkeys for him by putting this online through advertising. You then build up the reputation around this and the credibility around this. And when you put outbound links from this to somebody else's website, Google starts to say that's a credible link and raises that person up the search engines. So the revenue opportunities in this are both traditional and massive. The final point is that I would also then bring in Facebook groups. I would start to bring together, so that really is the mashup. So Facebook plugs in, your government data plugs in, your interviews with local people plug in, the videos plug in, the content that you're making all plugs in, and you then have a revenue stream. You get this working on BT1, you move to BT2, BT3, it's extremely scalable. Your funds from one will fund the next. That's put that in. The other way you can do it is you go for groups, not necessarily postcode based. You go for the science groups. You go for people that you have a passion about. So I put this in because this is my scientific experiment. I was running with my two kids on genetically modified grass, or was it Mr. Potato Head? I'm not really sure. But the thing is that if you don't like postcodes, you go for what it is that you're passionate about, because that's what has to drive it. It will be your passion that will make it work or not work. Here's the P&L on the back of the fag packet. I think this is all you need to get this going. 10,000 F5 flyers. I definitely think offline is where this needs to start. If you can afford radio, if you can afford some bus shelter, advertising, you've got to incentivize people. But I think just leaflet door drop around your area, telling people what you're doing, asking for volunteers. A little flip video camera costs 150 quid for getting your vox pops, understanding what the speed ramps into the estate. That's the start. You bring the campaign, you get that campaign going for these people, you will get them following you. A mic and a tripod, a MacBook for putting it all together, and £30 for your bus fare. So it's reasonably low cost. That is one that you could start tomorrow. The technology is very limited, it's very low. I don't think you need to actually, once you get the programming for this data.gov.uk stuff working and extracting the data you need,